What's going on, guys? Chris here again. Doing a video that I am really excited to do regardless of what my monotone voice portrays. Gonna rank the albums of probably, I can't say my favorite metal band of all time, but I could say probably top 5, which was obviously Metallica if you read the title. And it's funny, and I think this is the same for a lot of people. They rank so highly for me, even though I would say only like 5 or 6 of these albums like I actually like thoroughly enjoy. Um, there's a lot of crap in here, and I think everybody knows that. But I just think those first 4 albums that they put out in the beginning of their career are just so amazing that it kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of a shame, really, what they turn out to be, even though I like some of the stuff later on in their career. They definitely, I don't know, you could say sold out. I don't like using that term because, how many of us in their shoes would, do any differently? I'm sure some people, the money's not worth it to them if, they want to continue making the style of music that Metallica was making early in their career, and not switch to the commercial stuff that they did. I think a lot of people would too. I think that would be a hard thing to turn down. I think they would have gotten big anyways, as big as they were, probably not. Or are, I should say. They still tour in stadiums and whatever, but anyways, I don't think, whenever I watch Metallica rankings, I don't think that people's top half and bottom half of their list ever really differ. It's just the order of which that you put things at. So I don't think mine's really going to be that much different than most people's. I think my top ones, the order that I have them, might be different than a lot of your guys' opinions. But yeah, so I'll just start off with my number 10, which, again, I think people jump right to Saint Anger and they say, that's just such a terrible album, and it's not great. But it's not even going to be the first 2 here. My least favorite, so my number 10, they put out 10 studio albums. I'm not going to be ranking the Garage Days, and I'm not ranking any live albums. It's just hard to judge live albums and covers among, original material. But my number 10 is Load, from 1996. I don't know when people rank these albums if they remember or if they go back and listen to everything or if they just go by what, is off the top of their head. This is, with the exception of a few songs, in my opinion, a steaming pile of crap. Ate My Bitch, 2x4, King Nothing's okay, Bleeding Me. I don't know, there's some stuff on here that's just so bad to me. I like Thorn Within, and I like The Outlaw Torn, but like Poor Twisted Me, oh my, like some of these songs are just so terrible, in my opinion. It's like, you were to pick somebody who is into music but doesn't know, like Metallica somehow, I think that'd be a hard thing to find, someone that doesn't know Metallica, but, and you were to play this, and then, immediately right after play one of their early albums, like, you wouldn't, so nobody would ever guess it's the same band. I think this album, while I can listen to a couple things on it, I think this is by far, in my opinion, the worst that they ever put out. There's so much crap on there. And then my number 9 is Reload. I like this slightly better than Load. Some of the songs on here are just a lot more memorable to me. There's still some crap on here. Bad Seed, that's one of my least favorite Metallica songs. But I do like Fuel, I do like The Memory Remains, even though I've heard them 5 trillion times. The Unforgiven 2 is actually a really good song in my opinion. But yeah, Slither, I don't know, some of this other stuff is Devil's Dance, just not that great. And this was released only 1 year after Load. And I don't know. It's just like maybe they should have taken a little more time. I don't know, if they wrote all these songs at the same time and just decided to release it a year apart, because the albums sound very similar. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's this one to me. There's still no, I shouldn't say a big jump, but there's a jump from Load to Reload in my opinion. Like I could put this on and not hate it. And I don't hate Load either, but it's just not like I will never go back and ever listen to that. And my number 8 is Saint Anger. I feel like if you ever take an album that's universally hated and say that there's a lot of stuff you like about it, I think you're automatically labeled as like a contrarian. Um, but like genuinely, like there's some stuff on here, like there's some stuff on here that is just fucking horrible. Invisible Kid is just probably the worst Metallica song ever. Um, that song is so bad. Um, and I'm trying to remember what. There's another one towards the end of the album. I don't know if it's Sweet Amber. There's another song on here that's just like nails on a chalkboard to me. Um, but I don't hate the snare as much as other people do. I remember the first time I heard it, it was like such a shock to the system that like it took a little bit to get used to it. Um, but once you get used to it, I think, um, and I think part of it too was watching the documentary. Once I watched the documentary and I saw, the way that the band was and the just, I don't know if they were on the verge of breaking up or not, but it was rough times for them. Um, and it's so reflected on this. I mean, this is just like all over the place. Um, but I love some of the songs in here. Some Kind of Monster. I like this version. I like I don't know if it was on the single that they released, but they re-recorded it around this time and put it out. And the re-recording is really, really good. Um, yeah, I like Saint Anger a lot. I actually really enjoy that song. Frantic, I enjoy. I do like Dirty Window, The Unnamed Feeling. I think there's some cool riffs on here for sure. Um, this is just like the Black Sheep, even more so than some of the mid era stuff. This is like it's just so bizarre that they put this out. Even the album cover is quite horrendous, and like some of the art on the in the album I think is kind of silly. I don't know. It's just like not. When I see that, it doesn't scream Metallica to me. I don't know. Just I don't know. But yeah, I don't loathe this album. I can put this on and I'll the first 4 songs I really like, and then once Invisible Kid kicks in, it's kind of like puts me out of the mood. Um, so those 3, I'd say by far are. Again, I hate saying the word like my least favorite. Well, definitely my least favorite, obviously, but like I hate saying I don't like them because I do. There's parts of each of them that I like. But now is when it's like, okay, like ranking them in order of which instead of what I like the least, now it's like what I like the most. Um, and now, so my number 7 is Death Magnetic from 2008. And I know I keep doing this a lot. It's like a nervous twitch. I'm trying to stop doing it, but along with stopping saying after every sentence. I'm really trying. There you go. Take a shot. So this came out in 2008. This was the first Metallica album that I bought new. I don't think I probably even knew Metallica was in 2003 when Saint Anger came out. Maybe whatever from the radio, but I was only 7, so, you know. But yeah, this came out 2008. I remember buying it. I think the cover is really cool, like just the way that they did the booklet, how like each page you turn, that coffin slowly gets smaller. Yeah, there's some really good songs. I mean, you can see how worn this thing is. I mean, I played the crap out of this thing when it came out. Maybe you can't see so much on the phone, but I played this album to death. I used to love this album. There's parts of it now, like now with more of a mature grasp of music. I know that the mix in this is like pretty bad. It's an odd sounding album. I don't know like how to even explain it. I don't know. And if you know, then you know. It just sounds odd. I don't know, just mixed really weirdly. Um, but there's some cool songs in there. You have Unforgiven 3, I think, is like a dark horse for like one of the best songs in this album. I love that song. That Was Just Your Life is a great opener. The Day That Never Comes is a great slower song by them. Cyanide, All Nightmare Long. I think there's some really good songs on here. There's really not much on here I don't like, at all. I don't think there's anything I don't like. It's just this is the one that I like the least of what's coming up. So yeah, if you haven't listened to this in a long time, I would check it out again. I think there's a lot to be taken away um, from this, and I just think if it was mixed better, I don't know. I think people might have a better feeling about it. It's just it just sounds odd, and then especially if you're wearing headphones, like, and you listen to this. I don't know. It just sounds like I don't know. This like it's hard to explain, but I would give it another shot if it's been a while, and try to look past that because there's like a lot of good material on there. For number 6, I have their latest one from 2016, Hardwired to Self Destruct. Um, yeah, I actually got to see them on this tour when they came around in my area, um, which isn't often. I mean, they come around. I mean, I swear to God, they tour like 7 years for each album, and you know, I'm sure that's how they make more money than putting out music. So I don't blame them. This one, and now I'm thinking about it, I might have it switched with Death Magnetic. I might like some of the stuff on Death Magnetic a little more. My biggest issue with this album is how long it is. It did not need to be 2 discs. They could have cut out half of the stuff on this, and it would have been a really good album. Like if it was, I don't know, they could have just really should have trimmed some of the fat on here. Um, but then again, I mean, you look at some of these songs. The second disc is where there's a lot that I don't care for. I like Am I Savage, and I like Spit Out the Bone. I think that's a really good song. And the rest of it's kind of just, eh. Like Man Unkind, I don't hate, but the rest of it's like, eh, I don't know. First disc, I think, is really good. Um, Maybe with the exception of Dream No More. The rest of it, exceptional in my opinion. This was a really cool thing to hear, especially, when it came out for me, again, 8 years since Death Magnetic had come out and I wasn't a 12-year-old kid anymore. This is, I got to experience the Metallica release like as an adult. And kind of like a back to form type album for them, I guess. It's closer to the early stuff than the mid career stuff, but it's still not close to some of the early stuff. But there's some cool riffs on here. They definitely and what they definitely did is get me excited if they are gonna put out another album, which I think that there's talks of right now. I think that in interviews they've said that they have stuff written. I don't know if they have anything recorded, but I want to say in one interview they said 2022 they'd start recording, but I don't take that for anything more than just what I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But I want to say that they said that they might start recording in 2022. But that album has me excited to see if they'll keep going in that direction or not, which I have a feeling that they will. I don't think that they, in this stage of their career, think that or I can't imagine they would think it'd be a good thing to go back to, some of the older stuff that they used to sound like. My number 5 is the Black Album from 1991. And I thought about putting this at number 4 and moving my number 4 to number 5, but I just couldn't do it. But part of me just wanted to just stick it in some of you guys' face that, I actually really enjoy the Black Album a lot. But again, I was not around when this album came out or any of them before this. So I did not have my heart broken by Metallica. I have a feeling that if I was like an 18-year-old kid, and Injustice was the last album that I heard, and then they came out with this, I would be so pissed. But that didn't happen to me. This is the kind of stuff that I heard first. This is the kind of stuff that was on the radio. And even today, at least 3 or 4 of these songs are still fairly consistently played. in my area at least on the radio. Excuse me. Um, I think this album's really good. I think this album gets a lot of flack from people that, loved Metallica for what they were and they just couldn't accept what they became, and I get that. I have no problem with that. Um, but I think this album is a lot better than people want to say it is. I mean, Enter Sandman, like, how many, I've heard that 5,000 times, as I'm sure everybody else has, but it's still, like, to me, a good song. Like, same thing with Sad But True, I've heard that 5,000 times. But some of the deeper cuts on here, like Don't Tread on Me is a pretty damn good song, and Holier Than Thou is really good, and Through the Never is one of my favorite Metallica songs. Of Wolf and Man, The God That Failed, I don't know, there's some of the stuff that isn't too overplayed that's on here is pretty exceptional in my opinion. Um, so yeah, I mean I thought about putting this in number 4. I thought some of you might never watch any of my videos again, so I didn't do that. But in the end, this is, ranked where it was because I felt that this was their 5th best. But I still really, I listen to this album a lot. I listen to, honestly, Metallica might be my most replayed band. I listen to Metallica. They might be in my rotation, at least one of these albums every week. At least I feel like I put something on by them at least once a week. So for number 4 for me is their debut album, which came out in 1983, which is Kill 'Em All. The only reason that this is number 4 and not higher is because it's just too, the mix is just too raw for me. And I like, I'm a huge black metal person, like gigantic. It's close to my favorite genre. And I like really early death metal, and all those are mixed very poorly, but this is just, I don't know, it just doesn't fit this for me. That doesn't mean I don't love it. I adore this album, and the next 4 of these, or the next 3, including this one, so 4, the first 4 albums, I know inside and out, as I'm sure a lot of you do. Like, I've played these so many times. So for me to put this number 4, that just means I listened to this 40,000 times instead of my number 1, which I probably listened to 100,000 times. I mean, it's not like I don't like this album. I love it. And I don't need to go over most of these anymore because, everybody knows all these. But, my favorites, probably No Remorse. I like that one a lot. I really like Motor Breath. Hit the Lights, Whiplash is really good. I'm not the biggest fan of Anesthesia. Not that I don't like it. I don't know. It just kind of like, it's a cool listen, but I just feel like it doesn't belong on this album. I mean, man, that might be controversial. I don't know. Like, it feels oddly placed to me. I don't know. It's like right in the middle of 2 of my favorite songs in here, and it's just like, it's good to like to break it up. And like Cliff is obviously like an amazing bassist, but it's just, maybe if it was anywhere else in the album, like this, like the second to last song or something, I think I might like it more. But I don't know. That's my only gripe about it. Everything else is awesome. 4 Horsemen, I mean, that's just, what can you say? And my number 3 is Master of Puppets from 1986, which is their 3rd album. Again, a lot of people, I think, have this at number 1, and rightfully so. I mean, it's probably, I don't know if you want to say, like, the best that they sounded in their early days, but they were firing on all cylinders on this album. I mean, it's not like my personal favorite, but I think like technically, like it might be their best. Again, like a lot of the stuff on here, it's just I've heard it so many times now. Outside of like my own personal listening, like some of the like you hear Master Puppets and things, and you can, I've heard Battery a million times. It's like how many more times can I listen to that? So that might be part of some of this. Is just the fact that growing up, like how much of this I actually heard over the years. So, like, when I listen to this, I tend to listen to some of the deeper cuts, if you even want to call them that. Like, Damage Inc. is frigging a shredding song. Disposable Heroes is amazing. Leper Messiah. Bow to Leper Messiah. Oh, that's friggin' riff in that song is so good. Orion, I think, is actually really good. Sanitarium, great song. Yeah, I feel like most of the times when I put this on, I I don't always skip the first two because I'm very much a listen to something all the way through kind of person. Um, but sometimes I will skip Battery Master Puppets just to save myself the 27 minutes that those two songs take. Um, and just get to the rest of it. But yeah, that's, can you say? Um, it's funny, I'm just thinking, like, how iconic the first four albums are, and it's really only a span of 5 years that these albums came out, right? I think five, maybe six, depending on what part of the year that they came out. Um, and they're so revered amongst metal people as far as like being some of the best. And you could say that that's like such a like it's the shortest section of their career. Um, I mean, just between Load and Saint Anger, there was more time than these first four albums. So like it was really such a short amount of time that they were the style of music, and it's what most people remember them by, and what most people wish that they stayed. Um, I don't know. I don't know if they again I because I don't know too much on the history of some of the stuff. I don't know if they started the trend of metal bands, you know, or specifically thrash bands like abandoning the sound and jumping into more modern sounding stuff, um, or if that was grunge or what the cause of it was. But I like to say that they were probably the reason that a lot of thrash bands like tried to jump into a more mainstream style. But it's just funny to think about that. We're really only talking, like, when we talk about their legacy, we're talking mainly about a 5 year span. It's just funny to think about that they wrote all this stuff in the span of 5 years, and it's just what people love them for. So anyways, my number two, this took a long time to decide on. Like, I mean, this was hard for me. Because I knew right away that these two would be my number one and two. Um, well, the Bullet, these are my two favorite albums. But it's just a matter of trying to pick between, you know, what's my favorite kid. That's what this was like for me. I don't have kids, but that's what I'd imagine the feeling would be. And I ended up with Fight Fire with Fire. Yeah, Fight Fire. I was just reading the back of the cover. Jesus Christ. Ride the Lightning. With my number two. I was gonna say that Fight Fire with Fire is probably my favorite Metallica song, and that was a big reason that I potentially was gonna put this number one, just because I love that song so much. There's nothing on here I don't like. I'm not the biggest fan of Escape. That's the only thing. That's the only thing on here that and it's not that I don't like that song. It's definitely my least favorite part of the album. But everything else, front to back, is perfect. I mean, this is such a perfect album. It's just that my number one's a little more perfect to me. I can't tell you how many times I've played this thing. Probably a million. This is where it's at. This came out 1 year after Kill 'Em All. Yeah, I mean, what else can I say? I mean, everybody knows this. Everybody knows these albums. I mean, it is what it is. And then my number one, which I'm sure a lot of people probably don't have a number one, but for me, this was the first Metallica album that I went out and bought. I know I said Death Magnetic was my first, but I meant like first one that came out while I was buying CDs. This is the first one I actually bought, just at all, at my little local record store. Yeah, this thing is just, again, it's probably why I have such an emotional attachment to it. That's probably why it's my number one. I'm sure it's part of it. But to me, this is like, I don't know, like the fact that the Black Album came out after this, like if this is what they were going with, and they could have just put out one more album, I would have loved to have heard the progression from this to another, album in this style. This was probably the darkest album in my opinion. I think that some of the songs in here are just they're almost like, I don't want to say progressive. I hate that term because I think it's overused so much for the style of music. but for lack of another word that I can't think of, it's almost progressive in a way. I mean, there's stuff on here. A lot of people like to get on Lars for his drumming. You know, I don't think he's the best, but he's certainly not the worst. By far. And he's just kind of is who he is. He fits the role. Would they be better with a better drummer? I'm sure they would be, but, you know, it's Lars. But this is probably the best he sounded. I know a lot of people think Master Puppets is probably his best work, but I think the Injustices, the songs on here, they sound so pissed off. Yeah, I don't know. I like I said, Fight Fire with Fire is probably my favorite song. But if I then were to pick like my top 5 favorite songs, you know, between the two albums, I think the next 4 would be on here. There's just so much on here that I love. So many memorable riffs. It's nothing I can say. I mean, if you don't know Injustice for All, how did you stumble upon my video, and why are you watching? So that's where I have my albums at. I would love to know where some of your guys' lists might be. If this is your first video, or my first video that you're watching, thank you for watching. I think I'm up to 14 subscribers now, which is awesome. You know, I've only been doing this for, I think, about a week now. So to even have 14 people, I think is really cool. And I appreciate the people that have reached out. And if you haven't checked out my other videos, check them out. I got a couple other rankings I've done so far. I've done a couple other things. And I look forward to doing more of these. And I hope that everybody that's watching sticks around. Hope you're enjoying it. If you have any feedback, constructive criticism, I'm very open to hear whatever you got for me. But, you know, all that aside, this was me ranking my favorite Metallica albums. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said, let me know how you rank them, why I'm an idiot for some of these, and I look forward to it. Thank you very much.